why don't we get this party started? All right, everybody, welcome. Thank you all for joining us. I'm John Avlon, CNN, OPC board member, along with Bill and Mike, to discuss their great new book, Battlefield Cyber. It is so timely, it is so smart, and I so appreciate that it focuses on solutions and not just problems. That is something that we don't do nearly enough in books of this sort or in journalism in general. Let's start out just easy, kind of an odd couple, I dig it. How'd y'all meet? How'd you get?
Well, my daughter sitting here is to blame. She went to college with my sister. And so both Mike and I are of the nature of when we're family gatherings, we start shooting our mouths off about China this or technology that, or can you believe what the US government is doing or not doing. So I think that the two roommates, Allie and Katie, said, we should introduce my father and your brother. They're very like-minded people. And they were right. They totally nailed it. Although we're of dramatically different ages and backgrounds. Mike was a military hero. I was a hello, I'm a go guy during the Vietnam War. So we're dramatically different backgrounds, but we have come together in the most remarkable collaboration, one of the most remarkable collaborations I've ever had in my career.
Well, I mean, I love that. Mike, what's your perspective on this?
Well, I was just going to say, as you can see, we're a lot of fun at parties when all we talk about is China, Russia, and technology.
That's a party. That's a party. Yeah. But no, but seriously, I mean, this is you were in the military for a long time, distinguished service. This is your first book.
Yes.
Tell us what was the sales pitch from Bill?
Actually, the sales pitch was fairly easy. So Bill and I got together and we wrote an article back in 2021 for the National Interest that dealt with China's penetration of the U.S. networks writ large and just how deep they went. The article was very well received, and it was, I would say, what was the word you used to describe it?
Well, we said it's China maintaining a secretive and permanent presence in the American computing systems.
I was going to go with audacious.
Oh,
but so we wrote this article, and then this was back in 2021. 2022 comes around, and Bill and I are discussing. It's like, okay, well, clearly we need to write another article again. This went very well. The partnership was great. We both enjoyed the topic so much. The problem was the issues and the topic was so big that it couldn't fit in the article. Yes. And so we started talking about, well, what if we extend this out and we talk about what is cyber warfare writ large, what are the real issues that are facing us from China, the threats from Russia? And as that idea took hold, we looked at it from a much larger perspective. We said, the vast majority of Americans don't understand what cyber warfare really is. Yeah. Many people look at it as a military problem, or they look at it as a law enforcement problem. They don't look at it as a societal problem, which it really is. And more importantly, and to what you pointed out earlier, there are very few books and there are very few people who actually make recommendations for how do we get out of the mess we're in, how do we chart a course forward so that we're not just admiring the problem. And Bill and I set out to do just that.
Well, I think you succeeded. Bill, why don't you, I want you each take a whack at sort of, describing, the cliff note, the elevator pitch of the book, and then we'll get into some of the specifics.
Well, when the internet started around early 1990s, and we started building a great site, we thought, oh, this is wonderful. And so people contributed voluntary software to support it. People believed in it, believed this was going to be a great unifying force in the world. And over the years, we built these elaborate corporate and individual computing systems all tied to the internet. But as we were doing this, we didn't create security. We didn't really think about security. We thought that we are Americans. We have created these systems, and who would dare use these systems to penetrate into the inner sanctums of our decision-making in Washington, D.C., or into the parts of our corporations, or into our homes where our children are now on TikTok. Who would dare to do that? But our adversaries in the world have figured out how to take advantage of the very elaborate and sophisticated systems that we've built. And it's only just now that we're waking up to the fact that we're basically wide open. We have not invested the money, the time, and the education in protecting ourselves. And so right now, I believe, and I think Mike shares this, that they are accelerating their penetration of our systems. The Chinese have recently, on the front page of the New York Times, I'm going to tick off some headlines that have been on the front page of the New York Times. This is not us hyperventilating. The Chinese have planted malware in America's critical infrastructure in what one congressional officer called a ticking time bomb. David Sanger on the front page of the New York Times. Another article on the front page of the New York Times, Chinese are using AI to manipulate images of Statue of Liberty and other patriotic images to undermine our faith in our symbols of our democracy. And then yet another front page article was Chinese allegations that American security officials, intelligence officials, started a fire in Maui. That was a deliberate act by American security and intelligence forces, a racist act, trying to wipe out the Lions. So we're on the receiving end right now of full-scale assault on our democracy and our decision-making systems and on the very definition of who we are as Americans. That's my elevator pitch.
Right. So my elevator pitch builds off of that. And I very much agree with Bill in that this is what we're seeing on a daily basis. The question is, how do you define it? What is it that we're seeing? Because clearly it's a problem. But is it a national security problem? Or is it a FBI legal problem? Or is it a societal problem? And we would argue the latter. This is a whole society problem. This isn't just a job for U.S. Cyber Command to go and fend off the adversary in some foreign space. This is happening in our networks. It's not just in our military networks, it's happening in our private sector, it's happening in our commercial networks. It's targeting individuals via TikTok. This is a problem that affects everyone in our society. So it's a much broader issue than what we typically think of. And the crux of our thesis is, if you connect to the internet, you are on the battlefield. There are no non-combatants. That's the idea we need to get across desperately to everyone who is a part of our society, everybody who looks at the internet, everybody who connects to the internet. The way in which we do that, in the way we set it out in the book, is to redefine cyber warfare. Typically, the definition of cyber warfare is something akin to a traditional attack. And so if the Russians launch a cyber attack against...
Digital Pearl Harbor is the main.
Exactly. And we say if we are waiting for a digital Pearl Harbor or a digital 9/11, we missed the boat. Because that's not how our adversaries wage war. The Russians, if they are going to engage in warfare, they're going to do it. They're going to launch a military campaign, maybe against Ukraine, for instance. But let's say, hypothetically, it was just a cyber campaign. If the Russians conduct a wiperware attack, again, hypothetically, against Ukrainian networks, but it causes no physical damage, is that an attack? Well, under international law, the answer is no. That's not an attack. That's not something that would necessitate or would permit a forceful response under international law. So then where are we? Where do we sit? And we argue that we need to redefine what cyber warfare is. Because we look at warfare from a military perspective and we say we've got phase 0, which is preparation, phase 1, which is moving forces into theater, phase 2, which is actually engaging in conflict, all the way up to phase 5. Our adversary absolutely is not. Our adversaries, being primarily Russia and China, they look at warfare as being a full nation competition, one against the other. They look at utilizing ransomware actors as proxies, Russia. They look at using social media to malign influence Russia and China to destabilize our democracy and undermine our political processes. They utilize cyber warfare in a way that is commercial espionage, that's traditional espionage. They target our critical infrastructure. They put in backdoors. Everything short of boom.